Now in its 9th season, it's Prodigy Bowlers Tour, celebrating junior bowling and elevating junior bowlers. Today, the Kansas City Open kicks off its 30th season with the 2024 KCO September Point Tournament. 5 kids have advanced to the TV finals, but only one can leave as the Division 5 champion. Here are the finalists. Qualifying 5th is 8-year-old Kendall Cochran of Kansas City, Kansas. She'll face the 4th qualifier, Briley Wolfschlager-Monty, the defending champion at this event. The winner of that match will bowl the 3 seed, Mark Morris Jr. of Kansas City, Missouri. That winner will advance to face Emma Wadersky of Topeka. And the winner of that match will bowl for the title against Kanan Duncan of Olathe. He's our tournament leader today. One of these 5 young athletes will claim the crown as Division 5 champion today and will be the first to sign their name on the new coveted trophy pin for this season on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. We welcome you to Olathe Lanes East in Olathe, Kansas, the site of our first Kansas City Open tournament of the 2024-25 season, and the home of the biggest and best youth bowling program in mid-America, thanks to the tireless work of Youth Director Susan Fashing-Lowe and the strong commitment to youth bowling by the center's General Manager, Eric Maxwell. And while we're acknowledging the tireless service of some pretty special people, let me thank Lee Miller, the chairman of the Kansas City Open, and his board of directors, who you'll see at the KCO events this season, clad in their new blue shirts. As always, the Kansas City Open holds competitions in 5 divisions. Today, we're bringing you the stepladder finals in Division 5, where players' averages are 139 and lower. But I promise you, what they lack in scoring ability, they more than make up for in enthusiasm and want to. You may not see a lot of 200 games out of the Division 5 group, but it won't be for a lack of trying. These kids are just as competitive, just as fiery, just as eager to give their best effort as the kids you'll see on episode 174 later this month in Division 1. At the Kansas City Open, the kids in all divisions choose whether they want to bowl in A squad or B squad, with the A squad going off first, bright and early in the morning, and then B squad following up behind them. Each squad bowls 3 games in the morning, then 3 in the afternoon, before the field is cut to the top 5 for the championship round stepladder finals. And if you're new to all of this, the stepladder finals work like this. The number 5 qualifier bowls the number 4 qualifier, and the winner advances to bowl the number 3 qualifier. In fact, the winner keeps advancing as long as they keep winning. Finally, the winner of match 3 advances to bowl for the title against the tournament leader. And that player today is the 2nd youngest and maybe the smallest player we've ever had on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. So expect your cute-o-meter to peg when we get to match 4. But before we begin, let's take a quick look at how we got here. As you can see, little Kanan Duncan wasted no time in grabbing the pole position as he owned the lead after the morning block. Emma Wadersky was right there in 2nd, his closest pursuer, and Mark Morris Jr. was holding steady in 3rd. In fact, of our top 5 finalists, only Briley Wolfschlager-Monty was outside the top 5 following the morning block, and she was next to last in 11th place, needing a huge afternoon block just to give herself a chance. Meanwhile, Kendall Cochran was 5th, and little Ebony Ford, who bowls league with us here at Olathe Lanes East, was close behind in 6th. But as the afternoon block was winding down, Kanan, Emma, Mark, and Kendall all held their positions, while Briley Woschlager-Monty made a phenomenal move all the way from 11th to 4th to get into the stepladder. Willow Burns, who made the finals here last year, got tantalizingly close but missed the stepladder by a single pin. But now it's time to kick this thing off with match 1 between our number 5 qualifier, Kendall Cochran, and red-hot Briley Woschlager-Monty, who just jettisoned up the leaderboard to get into this position. If you recall last year, Briley was the number 1 seed going into the stepladder and took the title. But today she'll have to win all 4 matches to successfully defend her title. And wait till you get a look at Kendall Cochran. Over at the bowling center where she bowls league, they call her the Little Monster. She's the rarest of rare breeds, a girl who bowls two-handed. And I think she's going to be really good when she gets bigger. And actually, she's really good now. But Briley is going to lead off. And her opening toss goes high through the nose, and she leaves the baby split, the 310. Briley is 10 years old, will turn 11 next month in October. Her job right now is to fit this ball right between the 3 and 10 pins. Oh, but she gets it on the outside. A bit of a lucky break. That's not how we would coach it, but watch this. The lanes are really dry on the outside, and that ball picks up and starts hooking early, and she gets it on the left side of the 3-pin. A lucky break, but a spare. Kendall employing a two-handed style. We're going to see 2 different kinds of two-handed styles today. Kendall uses the two-handed approach, where she carries the ball with both hands to the line, but then releases it with just one hand. You're familiar with it. Most of the two-handers you see on TV all use the two-handed approach. Much like the way Kendall just threw that one, and just misses the 9-pin for an open in the first frame. Later in the show, we're going to see something I'm not sure we've ever seen on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, but our tournament leader, little Kanan Duncan, he employs the two-handed delivery, where he carries the ball up to the foul line with both hands and then shoves it off his chest like a basketball pass. That's called the two-handed delivery. Kendall, high with that shot, cuts through and leaves just the 3-pin. Kendall just started bowling a couple of years ago when she was 6. She'll turn 9 this winter. Oh, and just hooks by the 3-pin. So a couple of near misses for Kendall Cochran in the early going. Back-to-back opens to start. Briley Woschlager-Monty with the more conventional one-handed style that we've seen our whole lives. Briley has grown a good bit since she was on the show at the September Point Tournament 1 year ago and won it. She's also throwing it with a good bit more authority than she did then. But she hooks past the 8-pin, and that's another open frame. These kids are having trouble with the lanes being so dry over on the right side. At the Kansas City Open, they oil once in the morning before A squad goes off for their morning block. And that's the last we see of the Lane machine. But Briley finds the pocket and buries one there in the third frame. And that's as solid a strike as you will see. Watch this one. Just outside the second arrow, out to about 4 or 5 at the break point, and she just plows them over. All right, Kendall. Well, and you see what's going on with Kendall's ball. She lets it go. She's standing at about where you would expect to see her stand for a strike on fresh oil. She throws it out to the right, but it gets out there to where the lane doesn't have much oil left, and it starts hooking early. What she needs to do is move way left and let the ball float through what little oil there is left on the lane. A little more like that. Oh, and once again, a close call, but another open as she chops the 1 off the 3. I thought she had that one. Well, that's what you get when you're watching Division 5. A lot of near misses. These kids pouring their heart and soul into it. They will get better as they get bigger and older. There's a Brooklyn strike. You take them any way you can get them. And I imagine Kendall's pretty happy with that one. 6-step approach. She's a planter, not a slider. Throws it over about 17 at the arrows. It gets out to about 12. I think if she could get that thing out to about 8 or so, she'd be right in the ballpark of the pocket. Pretty good shot by Briley, just a touch high. I guess it could have left a big split, like a 4-6 or a 4-10. So she can count herself fortunate that she broke up the split, but leaves pretty simple spare here. The 4-7, she should be able to take care of this. And she shows us how it's done. Tell you what, when you're at this level of the game, the fastest way to raise your average is not increasing the number of strikes you can carry in a match, but increase your number of spares. Boy, there's another one that was awfully close to being a solid strike, but just a little high. Leaves the 4-pin. Briley still trailing by 5 pins. You see the handicaps. Kendall getting 37, Briley getting 12. And that ball just didn't get up. Looked like it might have slipped off her hand a little bit. She threw it out to the right where there was plenty of friction. You would think it would come hooking back, but it kind of rolled out and just flattened out at the end. Kendall having a hard time keeping the ball on the right side of the head pin, but she gets a piece of it. Leaves the 6-9. And now if she will move her feet all the way up against the ball return on the left side of the approach, throw this thing over about 17 at the arrow, she'll be right in the ballpark. But you see, you get that thing out to the right far enough, like she did there, and it finds the friction and starts hooking. I don't know if at 8 years old it's too early to start trying to teach these kids how to throw a backup ball. Most of the time when you're dealing with an 8-year-old, you're trying to teach them how not to throw a backup ball. But I think it might help her on those right side spares. Pretty good hit. Ball actually deflected in front of and around the 7, or that would have been a strike. But the 7 pin is one I would expect she could make, throwing that big hook. She'll give it a go. Well, this has a chance. Oh, it just hooks past. And my goodness, how many opens is that for Kendall where she just missed by maybe an inch or a fraction of an inch. She's been so close a number of times. Briley wide right with that one, but it's just not coming off her hand like we've been used to seeing it all day today. And so it's not hooking through that dry part. It just kind of rolls out. If she leaves the 1-2-4-8, just throw this like a Brooklyn. Well, you don't want to go that far to the Brooklyn side. So after taking the lead briefly, Briley surrenders it back to Kendall. But we've got us a close match here. Just 3 pins separating these two young ladies as Briley moves to the left lane. That looked like a pretty good shot for a while. But once again, she needs to move her feet 2 or 3 boards to the left, maybe move her eyes a board or 2 to the left. Just try to find that oil line between where there's still some oil left in the middle of the lane and where it's pretty dry on the outside. You see the action to our left on lanes 5 and 6. That's Division 3. Over on our right on lanes 9 and 10, that's Division 4. And we will summarize what happened in their step ladders when we get to the end of the show today, as you just saw Briley convert the 4-7 spare. Kendall misses the head pin on the left. Boy, it's just tough when it's hard to generate enough speed to keep that ball on the right side of the lane. You got to move so far to the left. It just, when you're 8 years old, it doesn't make sense that if you're trying to keep the ball to the right, you got to move way to the left. That does not compute sometimes, but that's what you got to do. She did it that time, and you see that she just is having a hard time generating enough speed to keep that ball from hooking high on the nose. She chops the 1 pin off the 3-6-9, and it's another open, and she trails by 10 with 3 frames to go. This is still anybody's match. Oh, man. That was actually a better shot than some of these others we've seen her throw. She didn't get it so far to the right, so it didn't hook as much. But she still needed to stand just a little farther to the left. The 6-7 split, this is going to be a tough one. It's about a 10-1 shot for professionals. Not sure what it is for an 8-year-old. Come on, Kendall, show us a trick shot. And she hooks past even the 7 pin. Yeah, that's a tough one. Briley says when she grows up, she wants to be an artist. How about that? Well, she painted a nice picture of the 10-pin falling out late. And she leaves just the 6. In addition to bowling, Briley is also into gymnastics. Oh, but she hooks past the 6-pin. And I'm seeing a trend developing. Everybody's having a hard time avoiding missing left of where they want the ball to end up, whether it's for a strike or a spare. Briley gave that one a little extra loft. It held the line a little better, but didn't have much back end, so it kind of flattened out at the end, rolled out, and she leaves the 1-2. Pretty easy spare, though. And when you got a match like this going on, leaving easy spares is almost as good as making a strike. Especially when you can finish the job and convert the spare. So Kendall trailing by 10. Needs a couple of marks here, I would think, in the 9th and 10th. That would be her goal right now. Oh, man, what a terrible break. That could have been a Brooklyn strike, but instead she leaves a 7-9. Oh, my goodness. Well, this is not impossible, but pretty close. You got to cut that 9-pin so thin. She doesn't throw the ball hard enough to bounce it out. And she goes between them, so that's another open frame. And now she heads into the 10th, trailing by 22. And it's going to be a pretty steep climb from here. Let's look at it. Briley sitting at 134 if she throws all the rest of her shots in the gutter. Kendall, 3 strikes in the 10th for 152. I think maybe a spare. 142 strike on the fill would be a good goal. Okay. If she makes this and strikes on the fill, she shoots 142. And then it comes down to what kind of count Briley would get on her first ball in the 10th. And you never know. But Kendall's going to probably need to make this to have any chance at all. Hook. Here it comes. There you go. Good shot. Let's watch her footwork. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. And you see her hand is below the equator of the ball. That's good. Like to see her hand a little more behind the ball rather than on the side of it. That would give her an opportunity to have a little more controllable hook. And she controlled that one just fine. All right, get all you can here. Keeps it in the middle of the lane. That'll help. There's a 9 count. That's going to be a 141. Briley needs 4 pins on her first ball here, and she can put this match away. And I believe that'll do it. So it's Briley Wolfschlager-Monty, our defending champion, in Division 5 at the September KCO Point Tournament, who will be moving on to match 2. And she covers the 6 pin, so she's going to be in the 160s with good count here. Well, I think Kendall will learn from this experience. I hope she had fun. And it was a heck of a performance just to make the step ladder, I'd say. There's a 7 count to finish, so it's going to be a 160 for Briley Wolschlager-Monty, who is moving on. Her next opponent is Mark Morris Jr. of Kansas City, Missouri. These two will do battle when we return. Well, you know, at the Division 5 level of play, it's a near certainty that a post-mortem of most any match will reveal a failure to cover spares as being the reason for a loss. But I think in Kendall's case, you might find that she could benefit from simply learning how to stay behind the ball a little more so she can control her hook, or even learning how to throw a backup ball at her right side spares. The simple truth is, players of her size are going to struggle a bit until they grow enough that they're throwing the ball rather than the ball throwing them. But I like Kendall's game, and I think as she gets bigger, she's going to keep getting better and better, and the kids at the KCO better keep an eye on her in the coming years. Meanwhile, Briley showed us that she's grown up a bit since we last saw her at last year's September Point Tournament. She's taller, and she's throwing the ball with a bit more authority. So, Briley Wolschlager-Monty takes the next step to meet our number 3 qualifier, Mark Morris Jr., who's making his first appearance on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. The two players exchange the customary handshake to get things started. And Briley Wolschlager-Monty will throw the opening toss on the left lane. You see how much straighter that ball went when she sent it down the middle of the lane? There's oil in the middle of the lane. You get that thing out to the right, and it starts to hook back on the dry. If you can move left, play it more down the center of the lane, bounce it off the dry boards to the right, you should be able to control the hook. Oh my. Well, now, we don't see Briley do that very often. Just 4 pins difference in handicap this match, so we should have a pretty close match. Oh my. Well, Mark found out what those dry boards do over on the right side of the lane as his ball hooks back sharply, and he's left with a wide open split with 6, 7, 10. Get that ball over on the right side of the 6 and slide it across the lane. Not going to do it like that. So both players begin with an open frame. Well, Mark finds the pocket with that one, but you see how the ball didn't keep climbing, how it sort of flattened out at the end? That's what we call rolling out. It had no energy left when it got to the pins, and it just deflected around the 5. And another open frame. Back-to-back splits to start. Not what he had in mind. So Briley's lead increases to 17 as she steps up in the second frame on the right lane. And look at this. What happened? Once again, it just looks to me like the ball just slipped off her hand. I don't think she hit her ankle. So I'm not sure. You know, with kids, they grow so fast and they grow in spurts. Sometimes you just got to keep a real close eye on whether they've outgrown the fit on their bowling ball. She crosses over and nearly salvages a spare, but instead it's 9 out, another open, and a golden opportunity to take early control of the match is squandered. Just 6 pins separating these two. That's more like what she's trying to do, although that one hooked through the nose, and now she's left the 310. She made this the very first frame of her first match, where she put the ball on the left side of the 3-pin. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but that 10-pin moved a little bit to the right. But it doesn't matter. She gets too much of the 3-pin, and that is back-to-back-to-back opens to start. And Mark takes the lead sitting on the bench. Crosses over, and that 9-pin goes out very late, but it goes out. Watch this. What knocked it over? I guess whatever that pin was that was spinning around there, that's the head pin. And it just tipped it out just before old Iron Claws got it. And there's a Brooklyn strike to back it up. So Mark Morris Jr. gets our first double of the day on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. You see how that ball gets out to the dry boards and hooks left. And if he could just stand further to the left, he might be able to keep that ball in the pocket. Everybody's having a hard time keeping the ball to the right of the head pin. These kids at this age and this size just have a hard time generating enough ball speed to really control the hook. But the best control over the hook you can have is playing the lanes properly. Briley with a spare covering the 6-pin. But now those 3 opens and Mark's double has kind of put her in a hole here. So she's going to either have to catch a double somewhere or keep marking and hope that Mark makes a mistake. And look at this. That's 3 times Briley has let it slip off her hand and fall into the moat. I am not used to seeing that out of her. Even worse, she was on a spare, so she loses 10 pins in count. She needs to make this spare. Looks like the ball hung on her thumb that time. And I would definitely look at her fit. Can't help but wonder if maybe something's going on there. You just got to monitor it constantly with kids who are still growing. Mark crosses over. Knocked down everything but the 2 pins he was trying to hit with the ball. The 1-3. See if he can do it here with his spare attempt. There you go. I don't know if that's a spare ball or not, one that is plastic and doesn't hook, but it doesn't seem to hook as much as the other ball he's got. Goes Brooklyn. Leaves the 6. Well, even that ball that he threw on the previous spare that didn't look like it hooked much, it hooked that time. So he may be with somewhat limited options as far as equipment, getting the ball to go straighter. Briley crosses over and nearly gets a strike. But this time the 9-pin stubbornly refuses to go. But she is still in the trailing position, chasing Mark. She needs to cover all her spares here. There's one. You know, we preach spares all the time when we're coaching kids, especially the young ones. But it's really evident when you get down into these lower average divisions where a spare or two can mean all the difference. Oh! A Brooklyn that just wouldn't quite go. She got the 5-pin to nudge the 9, but it wouldn't fall over. But an easy spare. These are the ones you gotta make. And I think she got another one. Yes, indeed. But Mark Morris Jr. with a 25-pin advantage in the 7th frame. Oh dear. Well, the only good thing about that shot is he wasn't on a spare or a double, so he doesn't lose any pins in count, but you never like to see a 3 count. See if he can pick it up. Gave it a little more room, but that's not how you adjust for a hook and lanes. You don't throw it farther to the right, you move your feet farther left. Play more down the center of the lane where there's less friction. Look at that. It's not how, it's how many. And that's 10 in the pit. He's in pretty good position when he lets it go, I must say. He's a little unconventional getting there. I think he's just trying to do a little too much to the ball, but there's some good things about his game I like. Briley answers Mark's Brooklyn strike with one of her own to keep her in the match. Good balance for Briley. That's always something you like to see. And like with Mark, she just needs to move left. Play where there's less friction. You see out there on the right, there's just nothing but dry out there. And she goes to the nose, leaves another baby split. Well, she's shot at this now twice, made it once, trailing by 13. Here in the 9th frame, she can ill afford to miss another one. Put that ball right on the right side of the 3-pin. The ball will deflect over into the 10. Oh, she just missed it on the left. And that will grow Mark Morris's lead to 27 pins as he gets up in the 9th frame working on a strike. And he nearly gets a double. Knocks out the 5, the 10 remains. Now this is a tricky spare if you're having a hard time keeping the ball from hooking too much. But he gets it. That's the way it's done right there. Throw it straight at the corner pin on the right. All right. I think 9 pins on the first ball will just about do it. That means that Mark Morris has 156 if he doesn't get another pin, and Briley can only get to 151. So Mark Morris is our winner here in match 2. And Mark, 10th frame, you get another ball here, buddy. There you go. 9 more, I'll make it 166. So Briley will have to do some thinking about what caused those 3 gutter balls where the ball seemed to slip off her hand. That was a much better shot than those 3 gutter balls we saw earlier. This is the way I've grown used to seeing Briley throw it, although she usually keeps it on the right side of the head pin. It's just, the lanes are so dry on the right side, and she hasn't learned yet to move to another part of the lane. How about another one? Watch this one too. She always seems to end up in good balance. Her head nice and steady. A lot of good things happening with her game. She's going to get better and better as she gets bigger and older. How about finishing off with a turkey? That is a 151. It's not going to be enough as Mark Morris moves on to match 3. And next up, he's got Emma Wadersky from Topeka, Kansas, standing in his way. If it weren't for those 3 gutter balls that Briley threw, one while shooting an easy spare and the other 2 on strike balls, we'd probably be looking at a completely different outcome for this match. It's not like Briley Walschlager-Monty to toss shots in the moat like that, but every once in a while with young people, the ball will slip off their hand. And honestly, the first thing I would think of is whether their hand has just outgrown the grip they have drilled in the ball. That's part of youth bowling, and you really want to keep an eye on how a child's growth is affecting their fit. These kids grow in spurts, and I'd guesstimate that it's a good idea to check their grip on the bowling ball every few months or so. I know I'll want to take a closer look the next time I see Briley in our youth league. But there's not much that can be done about it today, as Mark Morris Jr. got the best of her this time, And now Mark is advancing to match 3, where his next opponent is our 2 seed, Emma Wadersky of Topeka, Kansas. Both of these two players, 15 years old. And Emma is going to lead off. She's getting 20 pins. Mark, 8. And one thing becomes apparent right away is that Emma doesn't throw a lot of hook. She just kind of rockets that ball down the lane, and whatever line she gets it started on is likely to be the line it stays on. So the wet-dry problem that the other players are having shouldn't affect her. She covers the 1-3-5 in the opening frame like a boss. And now Mark, who got started bowling because his family loves going bowling. And there's a bunch of them, including some little ones that are pretty darn adorable, I must say. And just wait until they get their hands on bowling balls. You'll have a whole bowling team. And there's a cover of the 3-6-9. And all of a sudden, these players are starting to show an ability to make spares. I'm liking this. Crosses over, leaves the 5, easy spare. You see how we add the handicap in right in the first frame. He would have 19 on a spare and 9. We add the 8, that's 27 in the first. And that ball got a little too wide and didn't have enough energy left to keep hooking at the very back end, so it rolls out and Mark opens. So Emma Wadersky with the early advantage, a 24-pin lead. And as you see, she's just throwing it right down the middle of the lane. She's not worried about hook. She's not worried about oil patterns. She's just trying to find the pocket. She found the Brooklyn pocket that time, leaves the 5-9. And I'll tell you what, it's not the worst way to bowl. When the lanes are tough, you just take the oil out of play. One of the best youth bowlers I've ever known in my life, Peyton Smith, did that at the Prodigy TOC in Georgia a number of years ago. We sent him out on red square. That's flat oil, gutter to gutter, 40 feet. By the time we got down to the final match, it had morphed into something horrific, and he just went straight up the middle of the lane. Whatever it takes. Emma, who got started bowling in middle school, says she wants to go into sports media as a career. Well, she's going to be on sports media today on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. All right, Mark, going to try to get back up on the horse. And look at that ball. He had that thing way out to the right. And it hooked completely across the face of the head pin. almost didn't hit the 2-pin. He leaves the 1-3-5. And makes it. Well, there's much these kids can learn about playing hooking lanes. We're not going to solve that problem for them today. We might be able to explain a few things, maybe even show them a thing or two on the show, but it's going to take practice, a little coaching. But you see what's happening. The ball is just hitting the dry part of the lane much too soon. And if he would move his feet another, 5, 6 boards to the left and move his target at the arrows, almost a full arrow to the left, and just keep that ball off the right side of the lane. There is some oil in the center of the lane. And if he could play down there, he wouldn't have to worry so much about the ball overhooking. Or he can just learn to throw it straight like Emma. She doesn't care about the oil or how much it's hooking on the outside. She just throws it straight up the lane. Of course, if she doesn't throw it up the correct line, it's going to just stay there, but at least she's not bothered by the changing oil conditions. The 1-2-8-9, a spare we don't see on Prodigy very often. And the best way to shoot it is to go pretty much like you're shooting a strike, although I think I'd favor the Brooklyn here. Not that far, Brooklyn. That's 7 out, a big open frame, and all of a sudden, Emma's lead is gone. This match is all even. So with 6 frames to go, this is going to be whoever can earn it. Well, she misses the head pin left once again and leaves the 1-3-6. Most of the time I would say just throw your strike ball, but just hit the head pin. Either on the left or the right should work. That's not going to get it done. And that's 8 out. And now Mark takes the lead sitting on the bench. And again, that ball just hooking out of control left. He leaves the 1-3. This is not the first time we've seen him leave the 2 pins that he was trying to hit with the ball. And he covers the spare. Well, you see how important spares are. Mark with 4 spares in 5 frames. Emma started the match with 2 spares, but hasn't been able to make one since. And there's a strike in the 6th for Mark. And now Emma's just going to have to figure it out. That was more down the center of the lane, not quite as far to the right, and it didn't hook as much. Still going Brooklyn. Okay, Emma got a piece of the head pin, but because she doesn't throw a hook, that ball is not going to drive through the rack like it would if she had entry angle and what we call continuation, where the ball is coming from the right side of the lane and continuing to climb to the left. Here's how you make the 5-7. See if she can do it. Nope. Not this time. So that is tough sledding. She began the match with back-to-back marks. And now she's got 4 open frames in a row, and that's not what she had in mind. It's not the way she's been bowling today either. Okay. Once again, throwing it straight from the center of the lane. You miss the head pin to the right, it's going to deflect. See if we can see what's going on with her game. Look at how far behind her back she has the ball. We'd like to see it in line with her head, but you see it's way to the left of that. And it's just hard to know where you're going to throw it. It's hard to be accurate when you don't have the ball on a predictable swing plane. A pretty good try at the 1-2-7-9, but the 7 remains, and it's another open frame. It's hard to overcome a big string of opens. Mark once again hooking left of the head pin, but got a good healthy piece of the Brooklyn pocket. Leaves just the 9. Now he ought to be able to make this. Oh man, just hooks past. Let's take a closer look at Mark's game, see if we can help him out a little bit. At the bottom of his swing, you see how far he's got his elbow from the side of his body? You want to keep that elbow in close. See, at the back of his swing, it's in a much different position. It's much better here. And then at the bottom of the swing, you'd like to see the ball right below his head. It's a little to the right of that, but not too bad. And his left foot, nice and perpendicular to the foul line. He's got a nice slide. Fell off balance to the right a little bit, but not too bad. He's got some room for improvement, but there's some good things going on with his game, too. I think maybe Dad's coaching him at home. Dad or Grandpa or somebody in the family, I think, has got his ear. You can tell he's trying. There's a conversion. And I'll tell you what, Mark is bowling pretty good game here. He's only got 2 open frames out of the first 8. Emma would like to have that, I guarantee you. But the difference in their scores, only 21 pins, so she's not out of it. Well, you're just not going to gain much ground when you're throwing it over at the 4-7. And she gets 6 out of it, so a recovery here and a spare would give her a chance to get back in this. I mean, there's no guarantee that Mark is going to keep sparing and striking the rest of the way. But it's another open for Emma, and I know she's just got to be churning on the inside. She didn't become the 2 seed today by having this many opens. But you get to the step-ladder finals, it's not like qualifying. You don't have 5 players on each pair of lanes bowling at the same time. Got a television camera pointed at you. People asking you to fill out forms and put your biography down on a sheet of paper, knowing that they're going to be talking about you on YouTube. It can be a little nerve-wracking if you've never been through it before. Emma, who is also into track and field at school, says her favorite pro bowler is Kyle Troop. There's a spare. So she stops the bleeding, and the string of opens ends. That's a blessing. But now, has she waited too long? Mark with an opportunity to put the hammer down. And he crosses over and gets another strike. And I know it hasn't been pretty. I don't think we've seen a ball in the pocket this match. They're living on the Brooklyn side, but hey, you take them however you can get them. He crosses over, but I believe 6 will put this one out of reach for Emma. And Mark Morris Jr. has won match 3. And guess what? He's going to be bowling for the championship against the littlest tournament leader we've ever had on Prodigy. How about Mark Morris? That's 8 clean frames in his match 3 effort against Emma. And a possible 179 with a strike here. All right, it's going to be 176. That's still pretty good. That's 168 scratch. And I don't know what his all-time high game is. I'm sure it's much higher than that, but Emma, by the way, has a career high game of 221. And I'm sure she threw a bunch of balls like that. She's probably wondering, where's that been all this game? Because I'm sure she threw a bunch of them in qualifying to become the 2 seed. But how many times have we talked about this on Prodigy? You get to the 10th frame, the match is over, you've lost, and all of a sudden the strikes come a little easier. Just hitting the pocket becomes easier. She's going to end up with 146 when she makes this 7-pin. And then we await little Mr. Duncan. All right, 146 for Emma Widerski. Mark Morris, you've won another match, my friend. And you are moving on to the championship match to face Kanan Duncan, who hopes to prove that big things come in small packages. Of course, there's no way to know what's going through a player's mind when they're bowling a match. So I don't know if the sight of a television camera pointed at her had any effect on Emma's game, or whether she was nervous bowling in the stepladder at all. But I can tell you that you don't become the 2 seed throwing 6 consecutive opens in many games of the qualifying round. So I'm going to chalk Emma's performance in that match up to being in unfamiliar territory with all eyes on her, which can be unnerving if you've never been through that before. Emma will be more comfortable and will bowl better the next time she makes the stepladder finals. Meanwhile, Mark Morris has started to settle in. After a somewhat shaky first game, Mark only had 2 opens in this last match, and now he's earned his way into the title match. I know this much, Mark Morris Jr. might bowl until he's 80 and he'll probably never tower over an opponent again like he will in this match. Our tournament leader, Kanan Duncan, is barely out of kindergarten and measures a whopping 3'8". So he'll be looking up at Mark, but he looks up at most everyone, so he's used to it. Honestly, I do think we could build this match like a new game show. Live from Television City in Hollywood, it's Can You Beat a First Grader? Okay, maybe not. What we do know is one of these two young fellows is about 20 minutes away from walking out of this bowling center with their first ever title at the KCO and their name on the Prodigy Bowlers Tour coveted trophy pin. So let's raise the curtain on the championship match between our 3-seed, Mark Morris Jr., who's now won 2 matches to get here, and the smallest and youngest tournament leader we've ever had on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, 6-year-old Kanan Duncan. Whatever becomes of this, I'm willing to bet you won't be able to look away. This takes me back to the days Prodigy came to you from Georgia, and we used to hold matches between the bigs and the littles. And Kanan goes Brooklyn. I suspect we might see more of that this match as we have in the previous 3 matches, as he doesn't generate a lot of ball speed, so he'll have a hard time keeping the ball on the right side of the lane. Now that is a spare ball, and it doesn't hook as much. And it didn't hook back to get the 9 pin, so an open to begin, but you see Kanan is getting 30 pins of handicap. And where have we heard this story before? Mark crosses over, leaves the 1, 3, 6, 10, a spare you almost never see right-handers leave, certainly on Prodigy. Shoot it like a strike. Put the ball right in the 1-3 pocket. The 3 will get the 6. 6 will get the 10. But he's wide with the toss. Misses the head pin. And Mark also starts with an open. Now you see we've added their handicap into their score in the very first frame. That's all accounted for now, so you won't have to be adding in any extra pins. Well, even though Mark missed way to the left of his target, because that ball was in the center of the lane, it didn't hook all that much, so it still got a piece of the head pin. He got 9. Let's see if he can cover the 10 pin. Oh, excellent shot. A reminder that the action to our left on lanes 5 and 6 is Division 3. And to our right on lanes 9 and 10, that's Division 4. We'll recap how their stepladders play out when we get to the end of this show. Now, little guy, all 3'8" of him. And he finds the Brooklyn pocket, gets 9, leaves the 6 pin. Now, Kanan employs what's known as the two-handed delivery. This is different from the two-handed approach that you see players like Jason Belmonte and many of our two-handers in the Division I field use. No. Well, it stayed on the lane, but it didn't hook back enough to get the spare. But USBC draws a distinction between a two-handed approach where you go up to the line with both hands on the ball, but you let it go with just one hand, as opposed to what Kanan does, the two-handed delivery, which is where you have both hands on the ball and both hands impart the energy to get the ball going down the lane. You see he throws it with both hands off his chest. The two-handed delivery, usually you see it with a young player just starting out They'll roll it between their legs, but Kanan choosing instead to go off his chest and nearly gets the 1-3-5, but the 5 stubbornly refuses to go, and his handicap advantage is now gone after 3 frames. This match is all even, and if Kanan's going to win it now, he's going to have to do it on his own. And look at Mark backing up that spare with a strike. So yes, indeed, Kanan's handicap advantage is now off the table. Mark with a good shot here. Out to about 12 at the break point. It hooks Brooklyn, but down they go. Oh my. This time it doesn't keep hooking and it flattens out at the end, and he's left with an ugly thing. This is the 4-7-9-10. It's the Greek church, really, without the 6-pin. But this actually has a name, Grandma's Teeth. You can probably figure out why. Put the ball on the left side of the 4-pin, you might make it. Well, not going to make it that way, but it would have been a tough conversion anyway. So, Kanan regains the lead sitting on the bench. So he will get up in the 4th frame with a 16-pin advantage. Starts at the back of the approach. Takes 6 steps, 6 very quick steps. Basically runs up to the foul line and leaves the 10-pin. He bowls in our Saturday morning league here. We have 4 Saturday morning youth leagues here that all bowl at the same time. He's not in the one with the very youngest kids. We've got some that bowl with bumpers, but he's not one of those. He bowls without bumpers, but he's in that league with the youngest kids that don't use bumpers. And his dad tells me he eats, breathes, and lives bowling. So I think we're going to see him for years to come. This little guy also plays soccer. His high game, he shot 164, and his high series, 429. He's 6 years old, started bowling when he was 3. I got to assume he was using one of those ramps at that point. And he likes Kyle Troop. Everybody likes Kyle Troop. This is the head pin on the left, but leaves the 1-3-6. Now this is a spare, a little more makeable for a guy who's having a hard time keeping the ball on the right side of the lane. This isn't like shooting a 6-pin or a 10-pin. This is a little more makeable. Let's see what he does with it. Oh, maybe. How about that? So he gets his first mark of the game. And he maintains a 5-pin edge over Mark. Mark crossing over again. Well, Mark could change his name to Mark Crossing Over. I think all these kids could change their name to fill in the blank with their first name. Crossing Over. Kind of what I've been saying about every shot today. He makes the 5-pin. So he stays close in the match. Honestly, I think a spare here or there could be the difference in this match. Once again, he pulled that one well left of where he was trying to throw it, but because it didn't get so far to the right, it didn't hook that much. And he still ended up over in that Brooklyn side of the head pin. So just the 6 to shoot. But over there on the right side of the lane where the ball does hook more, you gotta give it a little more room or come up the back of the ball and not put so much axis rotation on it to hook it. All right, Kanan working on a spare. And I tell you what, when you're working on a spare, just get a piece of the head pin, and you're sure to get pretty good count. In this case, he gets 7, leaves a tricky spare, the 3-6-9. Goes with his spare ball. And almost makes it. Gets 9 and a wiggle. Let's watch his reaction to this. He knows it's close. Oh! All right. Oh, and that could have gone. But the 9 pin stubbornly refuses to fall. Once again, this is a spare he can make. Oh, but even the spare ball hooks past it. I tell you what, he didn't miss it by much. But with that open, he hands the lead to Mark, who's now out in front by 8. And look at that, that 6 pin moved over to the right. That is going to make this an easier spare for Mark. It'll be harder to chop the 6 off the 10. He made the 10 pin earlier in this match. If he can throw another ball like that, he'll make this. But no, instead, he pulls the shot, misses on the left, and now the lead that Mark had passes back to Kanan. Oh, look at that one. He just got that thing out too far, and he just didn't get good fingers on it that time. So instead of hooking back, it just expended all of its energy early and rolled out. And that was left from the get-go. So another open frame, and all of a sudden Kanan with a 15-pin lead as he gets up in the 8th. And Kanan through the nose gets 8, leaves the 6-10. He'll go to his spare ball. This is the one that doesn't hook so much. Oh, man. He's not missing these spares by very much. But with 2 frames to play, the lead is 3. Oh, man. He almost had the 7-10. That would have been horrible. But watch this shot again. He's anxiously watching it. It hooks to the left. The 10 goes out. Will the 7 fall? No, not quite. See if he can make this. How about that one? All right, Mark. It's showtime. Trailing by 3. He can't afford another open here. Oh my goodness. That ball actually found the pocket, but it had run out of energy and wasn't climbing. The continuation was spent, and he leaves the 5-7. This is how you make it. Put the ball on the right edge of the 5-pin and slide it over into the 7. Oh, this has a chance. And he gets it. How about that? Oh, man. Well, that was thrilling here. Look at this. That is perfectly done. And now we're down to the 10th frame with just 3 pins separating these two. All right. Mark goes through the nose, breaks up the split. Now you got to believe if he can make this spare, and he's made a couple of them over on the right side, if he can make this, you got to like his chances. How many marks do you think little guy's going to get? But instead, Mark lets that one get away from him, and he's the one with the open. And now Kanan will get up in the 10th frame, owning a 17-pin lead. If he gets 7 on this first ball, he wins. Chalk it up. If he throws the next one in the moat, he ends up with 135. Mark's already in with 132. Kanan's just won the first bowling tournament he ever bowled in. And Kanan says, I'll just make one more spare here for good measure. How good is this? I'd have to call this some kind of major upset, but what a way to kick off the 9th season of Prodigy Bowlers Tour and the 30th season of the KCO. 7 on the fill ball is going to give him 144. Doesn't matter how many. It matters he got more than the other guy. And he just realized it and gives it a fist bump. And Kanan Duncan is going to sign the coveted trophy pin. Little guy takes the title on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. How about that? Got to give props to Mark Morris Jr., who won 2 matches just to get into the title match. And he bowled well to do it. But in the championship match, he just found that spares were hard to come by, and he really could have used a couple more. But he ran into a little dynamo. I don't know if Caden Duncan is the smallest player we've ever had on Prodigy. Back in July of 2019, when we held a special event called For Littles Only, 5-year-old Caden Geldof Hess came down from Algonac, Michigan, with his dad to bowl with us, and he was pretty darn small. About the same size as Caden, actually. But I can say with certainty that we've never had a younger or smaller champion on Prodigy Bowlers Tour than Caden Duncan, who's 6 years old and measures 3'8". But as we learned today, certain objects on the screen may have been smaller yet more fierce than they appeared. This little guy bowls league with us here at Olathe Lanes East, so I've been fortunate enough to spend some time with him, and I can't wait for you to meet him. Look, it's the brand new all-yellow coveted trophy pin for the 2024-25 season, and the first signature that's going on it belongs to this guy. Do you even know how to sign your name?
Yeah.
Yeah? Caden Duncan.
I don't know how to do the Duncan.
Okay.
I know how to do the Canaan and the D.
Well, you obviously know how to bowl too.
Yeah. I've been practicing for like 40 years.
Well, maybe not 30 years.
I've been on the Wii Sports and
30 weeks, maybe.
Yeah. Because I've been on Wii and my Nintendo and my Xbox, but not a long time.
Well,
Because I've been playing a fighting game on my Xbox. It's a new Nickelodeon 2 fighting game. And I have beat the Jellyfish King boss. So, yeah.
okay, so here's the deal. You're 6.
Yes.
When's your birthday?
February 10th.
So you'll turn 7 in February.
Yes.
Okay, that's pretty amazing. You are the youngest player ever to win on Prodigy Bowlers Tour in the 9 years we've been doing this show. And probably the cutest.
Yeah, I've been being the cutest since I was at the Lord's, because I said I'm the cutest boy.
Yeah, well, you bowl league here with us at Olathe Lanes East. I've been seeing you on Saturday mornings for a while, coaching you up a little bit here and there, but I never would have imagined that you would come out here and show these kids what is up on the lane. You were the tournament leader, and you went out and you beat a formidable opponent who I thought was going to get you, but you just kept hanging in there, and you got it done at the end. And guess what this means? It means that you get to put your signature on the coveted trophy pin, that thing right there.
Yep.
And you also get invited to the end of season, this will be next June, Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions, because you want to know what you are now?
Champion.
You are a champion. Put your name on that thing. And put today's date. No, not on that thing, on this thing.
My name?
Put your name on there.
Whoa, wait. I kind of messed up on that.
It's okay. We'll know who it is. And put today's date, 9/8.
Wait, I did a P.
Yeah, you're fine. Just put a 9 and an 8. We'll know. Kanan, you are such a hoot. Here. That's okay. That is close enough.
Yeah. Oh, that E. That
Hey,
E is a 3.
Guess what?
What?
It doesn't matter. We all know who signed it, and we all know who won. Kanan Duncan, the Division 5 champion at the September Kansas City Open Point Tournament at Olathe Lanes East. Congratulations!
Yep.
As I mentioned during the show, the kids to our right on lanes 9 and 10 were the Division 4 group. Here's how their stepladder played out. In the opening match, the 5 seed, Vincent Collins, dropped a little 231 on 4 seed Maya Nathan, whose 157 came up short. Then in match 2, Vincent kept his winning ways going with a 178-142 victory over the number 3 qualifier, Allison Deere. But in match 3, it was the 2 seed, Reese Bell, who stopped Vincent Collins in a close match, 146-144. That set up the title match, where tournament leader Ethan Rote of Plattsburgh, Missouri, fended off Reese Bell 158-148 to claim the Division 4 crown. So congratulations to Ethan Rote. And as I mentioned earlier, the bowlers to our left today on lanes 5 and 6 were the Division 3 finalists. Here's how their stepladder shook out. In match 1, the 4 seed Alec Rutschman, who you'll recall won the handicap division at the Prodigy TOC in 2023, defeated the 5 seed Joe Anderson 222-191. Then in match 2, the 3 seed Leanna Larson put an end to Alec Rutschman's day, winning 200-168. Then in the semifinal match, Leanna Larson stayed on a roll, defeating the 2 seed Gavin Neal 188-169. And in the championship match, the tournament leader Hudson Ellsworth of Branson, Missouri, defeated Leanna Larson 197-142 to claim top honors. So congratulations to Hudson Ellsworth. On our next episode of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, we'll bring you the thrilling championship round in Division 1, and we'll recap how the stepladder played out for the finalists in Division 2. That'll be episode 174. Expect that show to drop on October 5th, the same weekend we go to Gladstone, Missouri, for our annual trip to Gladstone Bowl, where Nolan Nash set the all-time Prodigy Bowlers Tour scoring record last year en route to winning in Division 1. In the meantime, if you're interested in bowling in the KCO and possibly qualifying to be on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, visit the KCO's website at www.kansascityopen.com, where you'll find entry forms and everything you need to know to get involved. If you like the video, leave a thumbs up and smash the subscribe button. You know that 3/4 of the viewers of Prodigy never bother to subscribe to the channel? That's the easiest way you can help us grow the channel and promote youth bowling. Doesn't cost you a dime. Hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to receive notifications whenever a new video goes up. Then, if you'd like to financially support the work that goes into producing Prodigy Bowlers Tour, become a Prodigy patron. For just $5 a month, you'll get early access to all our full-length episodes. And for just $10 a month, you'll get early access and you'll get your name in the show's closing credits as an executive producer. You know, like the big money people do in Hollywood. To keep up with all things Prodigy and get the occasional behind-the-scenes glimpse at what's going on with the show, join the Prodigy Facebook group. From any page on Facebook, type Prodigy Bowlers Tour into the search bar and hit enter. That'll take you to a page where you can submit a request to join the group. But remember, if you don't answer the screening questions, you won't be approved. So be sure to answer them. Well, that's a wrap for this edition of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Be on the lookout for episode 174 in a couple of weeks, and I'll talk to you then. In the meantime, this is Coach Randy reminding you to stay behind the foul line and don't kick out the foul lights or ball returns. And I'll see you on the next edition of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Now, go get your bowl on.